This is Behind the Verdict. I'm John Horford with Myrene Cook and Cristina and Nicole Horford. And today, Myrene is going to explain how media, TV shows, movies, all of that, distort people's image of how the legal system should work. Like, I grew up watching CSI Miami every week, and I know for a fact that if someone gets DNA evidence, you can get that turned around in literally like 37 seconds.
Oh my God. This is why I want to talk about this. All right, so are you ready for quiz time?
Here we go. So that's not true. CSI Miami lied to me?
They lied to you.
Okay.
So the first question I have for the both of you is, you may know this, but a lot of people don't. Who do you think presses charges in a case? Does the victim press the charges against the perpetrator?
No. But we've talked about that in an episode before.
Well, see, but I want to make sure everybody knows that, so that's our base, right? No, the prosecutor's office does that based on the investigation from law enforcement. But when we do something called voir dire, which is picking a jury before a trial starts, if it's a jury trial, a lot of people don't know that. They still believe that the victim has to press the charges, and that's not the case. But the other day, John and I were talking about different ideas for our shows, and I was maybe on a bit of a bender or a tirade.
A bender.
I was complaining quite a bit because it just baffles me sometimes. I had a jury trial recently, and I was picking the jury, and you have to go through and ask them questions to try to ferret out, do they have a bias? Are they going to be fair and impartial? Do they have anything in their history, their friends or family history that maybe we should know about before they're asked to sit as a juror on a particular type of case? Like, for example, were you yourself a victim or a suspect in a domestic violence case? If that's the case, then maybe, both sides may not want you to be a juror on this. It might be too hard for you. You might be biased, whatever. But one particular prospective juror indicated that I didn't believe that eyewitness testimony was good, that it's always skeptical, and really would want always to have video of a crime. Now, I know the media makes it seem like there's cameras everywhere and everybody whips out their camera phone, and that does happen in some cases, but the majority of cases that I have tried over the years do not have video, particularly if it's domestic violence. It's generally happening in private. Sexual crimes, generally in private. Child abuse, generally in private. Kidnapping, probably not going to be on a video. And so it can be really difficult for prosecutors, for law enforcement to handle cases like this because of the misconceptions.
So you can't get everything you want on video all of the time. You can't your camera has a recording system within it. Like, there's a camera within your laptop, right, for example. You can't just get access to that and look inside this alleged criminal's home or room or whatever it is. Well, some people believe that the FBI does all the time.
There's a little thing called the Fourth Amendment. It has a right against unreasonable searches and seizures. And so you have to have a search warrant to get that. To get a search warrant, you have to have probable cause to believe a crime was committed and the particular person committed the crime. So it's not as easy as these TV shows make it out to seem, and that's really my point of wanting to talk about this. And it's not just video. A lot of people think you can get DNA from everything, everywhere, right?
Can't you?
No, you can't.
You can't?
So let's say you have a criminal sexual conduct in the second degree, which is a touching. Someone touched someone in a private spot. Not penetration, touching. That can be over or under the clothes, according to the law. And the difficulty with that is people think if I reach out and touch this, maybe there will be
some skin,
a fingerprint. But if you're touching clothes or a person's skin-to-skin contact, you're not going to get those things. And they don't understand that because CSI and Law and Order and Criminal Minds all make you believe that you can figure that out.
You're not allowed to lie on TV.
No, you have to be true?
You have to be true. Wait, and you skipped over this question, which there's conspiracy theorists listening to this, and they're just like, see, she's part of big government, and she doesn't want to admit that the cameras inside of everybody's laptops can be taken over by the NSA, and then that information can be given to the prosecutor's office to then charge people with crimes. Like, that's why people put tape over it. Is that not true?
I've been a prosecutor for 25 years, and I've never had one of those videos submitted to me as part of an investigation without a search warrant done on that person's computer that had probable cause to get it.
So you're saying there's a chance.
So you have had it done.
No, not that way. They get the machine itself, and they go through it that way. I'm
Gotcha.
not talking about their remoting in from your camera.
Okay, gotcha.
Let's be clear.
So people's
That's gotta be possible,
So people's
though, right?
worries about that, or do you just not? How's your relationship with the NSA?
If I did have a relationship with the NSA, do you think I would be talking about it?
Ooh.
I honestly think that, okay, you're making us all think that you and the NSA are looking at everything that we're doing in our computers
Now, see,
and on our phones.
here's the thing, John. I never said that. You're making it out to seem
But
something more than it is.
Are you feeling this?
No, I don't think that, but I think
She's scared of you now.
No.
She is
Because of your
not.
connection to the NSA. She's terrified.
no, I just feel like that's totally possible. Like, it seems totally possible. Like,
I'm not
Is
saying
it possible?
It could be. I'm not a tech person, to be
so
honest
like
with you.
So if I committed a crime and you got a search warrant because you had probable cause that I committed this crime and I was at home on my laptop, then you could do that.
Yes.
To me.
Well, no,
And that's
not
possible.
remote your camera in. I could get a search warrant for your
To get my computer.
To get your computer.
Oh.
I could get a search warrant for your social media accounts. And
Yeah.
I can send what's called a preservation letter. If I believe you're doing something illegal on those accounts and I'm afraid you might delete it, I can send Facebook, Instagram, whatever social media, what's called a preservation letter from law enforcement. And that means they preserve it. Then we have time to get the search warrant. We get the search warrant, serve it on that person, on that entity, whichever social media platform it is. And then we can go through things. Or I can get your cell phone or your phone records or those kinds of things. But again, I have to have, or the law enforcement has to have, probable cause to do that. And if they don't do that right, we've talked about this before, if those steps aren't followed exactly, even if they find something later, that can be suppressed, that evidence can be suppressed. They call it fruit of the poisonous tree. Because you didn't do it right, then it's gone. And you can't use it against somebody. Even if that evidence later shows they did something horribly horrific, I can't use it.
In any case, or do they overlook it sometimes?
They don't overlook it because the appellate courts won't overlook it. And if a defendant gets convicted, they have nothing better to do with their time than appeal.
So follow the steps, or it could all be thrown out very
Exactly,
easily.
which is why you have to dot every I and cross every T. But here's something that I say to prospective jurors. So I'm going to pretend the two of you are jurors on a case that we're going to have. All right, you ready?
Yes.
Okay. This is how I do it in an actual court. So who here among the jurors watches shows like CSI, Law and Order, or Criminal Minds? Raise your hands.
Liar.
She didn't say CSI Miami.
CSI
in the
Miami,
umbrella.
raise your hands. Okay. All of you understand that I don't have a county-issued vehicle like a Hummer out in the parking lot. I don't have a forensic slew of scientists who can go out to a crime scene, find the most minuscule spot of DNA on carpet, take it back to the office, have a printout of the DNA analysis in 45 minutes or less minus commercials. You all understand that that's great TV, but it's not how it happens in real life. Do you all understand that?
Yes, I understand that.
Oh no.
Believe it or
You're
not.
dismissed.
Believe it or not, there are people who go, well, I think you can do a lot of that. And so then what I tell them is, all right, I'm going to explain to you a random misdemeanor drunk driving case. So you get your blood taken at the hospital, the blood goes off to the lab. How long do you think that takes to have that analyzed?
2 weeks.
Yeah, I was gonna say like a week or two.
I would love a week or two. It is a lot longer than that.
A month.
It depends on how busy the lab is. It could be a month, it could be 3 months.
Oh.
But let me tell you this. Okay, so now
If
we
you
have
were first up on the lab, like the lab didn't have a backup at all, how long would
the
it
lab
take?
has a backup.
Always.
The lab
What's
always
the
has a
triage
backup.
Yeah, like, I
system
don't know
of this
where the
lab?
lab is, but it has a backup.
They have
Every lab?
most labs have backups because they don't have that many forensic scientists. This is another area where there are shortages in that profession.
Is this something that's done like county by county? Is it?
Most big counties may have their own labs,
Okay.
But most counties throughout the state of Michigan use the Michigan State Police Crime Lab, and they have different ones across the state. The biggest ones that I can think of, there's one in Lansing, there's one in Grand Rapids, and some other areas,
But they don't have enough of them.
but they don't have enough of them. So here's the next question for you. You ready? Does it feel like a pop quiz?
I love it.
All right, good. All right, so now we have a criminal sexual conduct case, and there's DNA left behind by the perpetrator. So that DNA has to go to the lab, and it has to go through multiple steps. First, it goes to serology to say, hey, is this a biological fluid or not? It could be blood, it could be semen, it could be saliva, it could be something. If it is, okay, yes, then it goes to the next step or level. It goes to the DNA analysis, but before it can go there, you have to have a known sample from your suspect. So you have to get a search warrant to get what's called a buccal swab for law enforcement to come swab the inside of your cheek.
Why is it called a buccal swab?
Because that's what it's called. I didn't make it up.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's buccal. Some people say buccal.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's a swab, and they just swab the inside of your cheek to get enough DNA. So then that has to be sent to the lab, and then they analyze it. Okay? How long do you think that process takes?
Months.
I have no idea.
6 months or more.
That long.
Wow.
And that's short.
6 months is short.
Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
Just to match
6
it with a
months?
sample that you have.
Yes. Because they have to run it in batches. There's a whole lot of things. They have to go through a second analysis to make sure the first one was following protocol.
6 months per suspect. Like if you have 3 potential suspects and there's no DNA on file for any of them, and we do the buccal or buccal swab
Yeah.
for all 3.
It can
6
take a long
months
time.
total,
I'd
or
like to
6 months
say
each.
no, it's 6 months total generally,
Okay, so it's like here's a batch.
but it's still a long time.
So if I got them 20, would it still be 6 months?
I don't know that.
I'm just curious.
But do you see my point, though?
Yes.
This takes forever.
Yeah.
But when you watch shows like CSI, they make you think. They go find it, take it back to the lab, put it in their fancy, dancy computer, and it spits out something right on the printer.
Things move way faster in Miami. Way faster.
Yeah.
They have way more money.
Only on CSI, John.
Miami.
Is that the only one you like?
That's the only one I like.
Why?
Caruso? Are you kidding me?
Doesn't he always kind of look sideways?
Yeah.
It's like a weird look.
Yeah, he's supposed to be real tough and suave and all that. I don't know. I haven't watched it since I was like 11. But that's the one I used to watch every week.
But, shows like that, and even Criminal Minds or Law and Order, SVU, people like that one a lot too. And I'm not dogging these shows. I watch them. But the bad thing about when I watch those shows is I usually sit there and yell at the TV. I'm like, God damn it does not work that way. You can't solve it this fast.
So are you telling me that a police officer that is as aggressive as Stabler would probably be fired in real life? Or just move to a different department? What's happening there?
Well, I think, that officer definitely would have had reprimands, HR talks, the whole 9 yards, and, who knows?
Okay, who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah, okay, we'll get to that, especially in the next case.
Yeah, but,
Derek Chauvin.
we're not there yet.
We're almost there.
We're not there yet.
We're almost there.
So, I think it's cases like that or TV shows like that that make it difficult for real cases. I think it's also the big cases that end up in the media where people see, there's like 5 people with cell phones out and they're all recording the whole thing. That happens sometimes, but those are the exception to the rule. The ones that we don't see are the ones that don't have that kind of evidence, and we have to rely on just eyewitness testimony. Sometimes we may have medical testimony, sometimes we have DNA, but even getting DNA on cases like that is very rare.
How reliable is eyewitness testimony, especially when you see all the statistics about how bad human memory genuinely is when it comes to like recall? How accurate do you believe eyewitness testimony is?
I've been a prosecutor for 25 years, and I would not say it is not reliable. I would not. I think it is.
You would not say it is not reliable.
I know it's a double negative.
So it is reliable.
I think it is generally reliable.
Okay, there you
But
go.
here's the thing. Do people remember all the same things all the time? You could put the 3 of us in a room and there is some crime happening outside the window. There isn't. I'm making it up. But we all look and we may all see something different. It doesn't mean we're wrong. We saw a different portion of it,
Or
a
just
different end of it.
focused on something different.
We focused on it. One of the things that experts will say in cases that I try a lot is that, especially with children, they don't have chronological memory like adults do. They take snapshots of it, and the snapshots are often random. So that can be children, it can be teens, it can be some adults whose focus may not be as clear as they would like it to be, and they see different things or they focus on different things. And so the law really has to focus on how they get around that and how they can account for that too.
So how do you?
Well, you have to be able to show credibility, and that's another thing that I ask. So you guys are jurors again. You ready?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, I'm going to come to each of you. Juror number 1, what are some of the things that you would look for if you are a juror in a courtroom to assess the credibility of witnesses who come in?
If they answer directly or if they try and like beat around the bush and postpone giving an answer.
Okay. And juror number 2, what do you think your answer for credibility would be?
Just gut instinct.
From what?
I don't know. Sometimes you can just tell if someone, I would base it off of their demeanor. I would base it off of how fidgety they seemed, although you have to take into account that people would obviously be nervous, like in a situation like that in a lot of cases. Just to see if they contradict themselves. Just listen to what they say over time. Like, are they lying? Are they, telling different versions of the same story? Things of that nature.
So here's the thing that I'm glad that you both said the things that you did, because with regard to Cristina, you said that, remind me again, you said that you're looking to see
If they answer it directly, like yes or no, or if they're trying to drag it out and postpone the answer and beat around giving you a direct answer.
You're focused on the Karen Reed case.
Okay, so in your circumstance, what if it's somebody who's embarrassed by what they have to say and they don't know how to put it into words? So they're hemming and hawing because they don't know how to say it. Could that be a factor, but they're still credible?
Yeah.
What about if they don't want to have to say the words of what happened? Let's say it's a sexual assault case and it's a kid, and they don't understand body parts, so they don't understand saying the words out loud. Do you think they might be kind of hesitant to come out and say it? They know their family's sitting there. Maybe the perpetrator is someone they know. Would that make them hesitant to maybe not come right out and give straightforward answers?
Yeah. So maybe if they're combative or if they're more like quiet and reserved.
Okay. So see,
I would look
it could
for
be
more
different.
combative.
Right. It could be different things. And on yours, juror number 2, you said if they're fidgety or other things, right?
I mean, I provide more context than that, but
We're going to focus on that one first.
You can focus on whatever you cherry picked from what I said.
We're going to focus on the fidgety part first. So do you think some people might be fidgety because they don't like public speaking?
I said that in my answer.
Do you think that they may not like all of the people in the courtroom, the jurors, the judge, and everybody else staring at them while they have to talk about something that is really private and hard to say?
Yep, that was also stated in my response.
Okay. So one of the other things I ask is, if it's a sexual assault case, jurors, do you think it would be difficult if I asked, and I'm not going to, but if I asked you to talk about your last sexual experience, would you feel comfortable doing that in front of all of these people? And everybody rightfully says, absolutely no. God, don't ask me. They look away.
I have no issue with that.
You would. It would be difficult. But that's my point, is not everybody is going to be crazy.
We were assaulted, so.
No.
Not everybody's going to be crazy like John and want to talk about this.
No.
But it can be difficult.
Yeah.
And they may not make good eye contact. That's something sometimes people say they look for, is eye contact. Well, what if they're afraid to look at you? What if it makes them nervous? What if they start to cry? What if they don't want to lose it? There's a lot of different things that I think we have to focus on as far as that goes. And when I point some of those things out to jurors, they're like, oh, okay. Well, maybe I understand. Maybe they will be fidgety. Maybe they won't give a direct answer right away. Or maybe they just need to, for lack of a better word, warm up and feel like you can talk and you can say what happened to you and tell everybody whatever it is that you're there to talk about. That can be really hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's the answer?
What's
the answer? How do I know if someone's credible?
Well, you have to weigh all of those things. And what I like to say, this is my second analogy, is that you take them all together like the pieces of a puzzle. So if you just take one, they're fidgety. If you just take one, they don't give a direct answer. They may not give you the full picture. It's a blue piece of a puzzle, and you don't know what that means. But when you take they're fidgety, they're talking about a sexual assault, they might not give a straight answer because they don't know how to articulate it. And then you corroborate that, if you can, with other eyewitness testimony, with a video if you have it, with DNA if you have it, with photographs, with other witnesses, with other people this has happened to, and you can show a propensity this person does that. Then when you take all of those puzzle pieces, now you know the blue pieces were the sky, and the rest of it can show the rest of the picture. So what I ask is that you keep an open mind and you put all of the pieces together before you make up your mind whether or not you think that person is credible or not.
good.
I've said that so many times
I can
during
tell.
trial.
It's important.
It's like memorized.
Yeah.
Oh, you got it. You've said it during the podcast too. So.
Yeah.
Well, I heard it for the first time.
Oh, well,
Here, in person.
You don't listen to the podcast.
Shush, in
closely,
person.
though. Oh, that's
What are
crazy.
other things, though, you guys think that TV shows like that how they can affect that aren't true? Are there other pieces of that you think affect what people think and shape?
Yeah, I feel like people assume that everyone who's in law enforcement is just like a dead eye shot. Because it's crazy, because I feel like in real life it's hard to hit somebody in these circumstances when they're like running away and stuff. And I know this is related to necessarily like prosecuting somebody, but it's just crazy. They always hit the person that they're shooting at.
I feel like sometimes TV shows do not hit the person.
Oh, I feel like a lot of times they do.
Well, but see, your analogy goes to my point. They're all a perfect shot. They're all solving the case in 45 minutes or less,
Yeah.
minus commercials. They're all finding every piece of evidence. They're all finding all of the things every single time. Why? Because it makes for good TV.
Yeah.
But is it reality?
No, exactly.
It's not.
They're not all perfect shots. The cases aren't all being solved. But yeah, all the things.
And it's very difficult. Sometimes you get to a jury trial and you put all the evidence out there, you put forth the best that you can, and the jury kind of gets hung up on something small that really is minuscule in the grand scheme of things. Like if you leave out that one blade of grass puzzle piece, you still see the rest of the picture. But sometimes they want that one, and they will find somebody not guilty because I think they feel the pressure of finding somebody guilty is difficult for them. They know that there's going to be some sort of punishment, and if it's a really bad case, they know the punishment will be really wrong and long, right? And they're told in their instructions that are read by the judge, penalty is something that the judge will affix. It is not something for the jury to consider, but they still do.
Yeah.
It's impossible not to.
All right.
Right. There's another instruction that's read, and let me get your opinion on this, juror number 1 and juror number 2. So this one is, everybody's probably heard that a defendant has a Fifth Amendment right not to testify, not to incriminate themselves.
Plead the fifth.
But if you guys are jurors and the prosecutor puts on a case of all the bad things this person did, the defense doesn't have to put on a case and the defendant doesn't testify, but you're told in this instruction you should not let that affect your decision. You should not hold it against the defendant. Do you still wonder why they didn't testify?
Probably.
I mean, I know you wonder why Karen hasn't testified.
Oh, I don't wonder. I know why. She doesn't want to be cross-examined, but that's not my point here necessarily.
No, yeah.
Right? But that's the thing. People will still wonder. You can give them instructions all day long, but they're still going to wonder. And
Humans are too human.
it's hard not to be, right?
Yeah.
So what else do? You have to do your best to put the puzzle together with all the evidence that you can. And I think the way that instructions are read, so there's a set of instructions that are read at the beginning of a trial. There are instructions that are read after the prosecutor does their case, the defense does their case, and they're called closing instructions. And on a felony level trial, those can take 40, 45 minutes of the judge reading instructions to you. Do you think you listen to them all, juror 1 and 2, or do you
Oh, no,
tune
I'm
out?
checked out after minute 3, probably, to be honest.
And see, that's the hard part because there are some really good instructions in there. Like, for example, for a criminal sexual conduct case, if you believe the victim, you can find someone guilty based on that. You do not need other evidence to corroborate if you believe that victim beyond a reasonable doubt. But again,
Beyond a reasonable doubt.
beyond a reasonable doubt, which is, we've talked about that before, the definition for that is atrocious.
Yeah.
What is it? What does it mean? It's difficult to prove.
Yeah.
It's not beyond any doubt or a shadow of a doubt, but a doubt that is reasonable based on common sense. That's how it's worded in the law. That's what's read to them. You know, I don't know. Again, this would be a circumstance where if I could rewrite things, I would love to, because the standards of proof for things are different. What do you think the standard of proof to terminate someone's parental rights are? Do you think it's the same as convicting someone of a crime? Or
No.
higher or lower?
Lower.
Juror number 2, do you have an answer?
I don't know, probably lower.
It is lower. It's by clear and convincing evidence. So you can terminate someone's parental rights based on that, but to convict someone of a crime, you have to go higher than that. Doesn't that seem like maybe it's backwards? Like taking someone's rights to their children away should be higher.
I don't know.
Yeah, me either.
You're not sure?
I'm not sure.
I guess it just depends.
Okay.
I guess it just depends.
We're not parents. What do we know?
Yeah, I'm also somebody who my my dream legislation would involve. I guess it wouldn't. Would it have to be legislation? It would be vasectomies at birth.
For who?
Everyone.
Why?
Males. All males.
Why?
Vasectomies at birth.
Now you understand what would happen eventually to the human race, right?
Dwindle.
No, not if they're reversible. I guess there needs to be some studies on whether you
I
can
think
give
this
an infant a
this is going
vasectomy.
down a tangent, John. I don't know that we want to go down.
Dismiss. Juror number
It's
2.
fine. It's fine.
Juror number 2, thank you for your time.
It's related
But
to.
I'm going to dismiss you from this jury at this time.
It's related to the comment about parents. Like, yeah, some people shouldn't be parents in the first place. Let's not put them in a position where they have to lose their rights to their children.
But how do you know that they shouldn't be? Maybe they'll be better. Maybe they'll get rid of that addiction. Maybe they'll become a better person
They
eventually.
could be.
Yeah,
I love that. But I also love that people, if vasectomies at birth could work, if they were always reversible, we know that they're not always reversible. But for the most part, they're reversible. We just don't know if they're reversible in infants.
So,
No.
Finish your point.
Yeah,
Go
thank
ahead.
Thank you.
Okay, you're
It
done.
would save the world so many issues. You could have a kid when you wanted to have a kid and when you're ready to have a kid versus accidentally having a kid or not having access
Who
to
decides
contraception.
this?
Well,
The government.
The government in
Right.
this case.
They're not-
Oh, so
Make 'em
what kind
control
of
men's
government
bodies
is
for
that
once.
controls that?
A smart one.
Oh, John.
A smart one. It just kills me.
TikTokers, you can go after him now. It's
You
okay.
can if you want, but I think it makes a ton of sense. Then you're ready. You know what? We're responsible adults and we're ready to have kids. Let's get that thing reversed and
If
let's
it-
start a family.
You know, we were
If it
talking about
works.
criminal cases here. How did we get down that far away?
Parental rights.
Yeah,
That was just a small little tangent.
it
not
was.
like a whole routed detour.
It was, but I think it's important to consider. I think it makes a ton of sense, actually. I really do. When you're ready to have kids, then let's do it.
Here's a
Let's have
question.
kids.
Do you think a lot of parents are taken away on what's the word I'm thinking?
Parental rights are taken away.
Like too easily?
No, because I've worked in a lot of what they call abuse neglect cases as well, and they are generally given services by the Department of Health and Human Services, what people would think of as child protective services. They're given services for housing, for jobs, for controlled substances, for anger, for battery, for parenting, for a lot of things. They are given the tools needed to make changes to be better parents. And it's very difficult to get to the point where you are going to terminate parental rights. It takes a long time. They're given opportunities. And as long as the caseworker can testify in court that they are seeing benefit from those services, then they keep getting the services.
Okay.
So it's very hard to take away parental rights.
Right. So we should leave it as it is.
We should just implement
Well, what I'm saying
vasectomies
is-
at birth.
Well,
and we
you
wouldn't
meant-
have to deal with any. Well, we'd have to deal with this much less.
No, my point was I think it should be as much as a crime because
Yeah.
it is a fundamental right to have children if you choose to,
Right.
That's a fundamental right. But I think making that less and making a crime higher. So if I break into your house, I have to prove that higher than if I were to terminate someone's parental rights. That doesn't seem right. John's like, I don't know.
Vasectomies
Oh
at
my God.
birth would.
Okay. You're done with that conversation.
I don't know. I think it's something people should consider.
Have either of you ever served on a jury before?
No, I was waiting and I called in and they didn't need me.
Me too.
Literally just a couple months ago.
I got called for jury duty once.
Just
Really?
once?
Yeah.
Do you get
And
dismissed?
then they were like, oh, it's,
Really quick.
they're like, oh, it's Myrene. Like, oh, hell
like,
no.
she's out of here.
And it was in the county that I was prosecuting in. So they were like, you know what, you don't even need to come because there's not a chance in hell the defense attorneys are going to keep you. So I had a lot of friends who were defense attorneys, and I've asked them, would you keep me on, and before I can get anything else out? They're like,
No.
hell no. I said, no, listen to me for a minute. Would you keep me on a civil case? So that because really what I want to do is I want to see what jurors focus on when they're back in the jury room. What are they looking at? What are they not? Do they like this? Do they not like that? You know, when we talked about the Casey Anthony case, People didn't like the prosecutors. They thought they were cold and mean. They liked the defense attorney because he was personable.
But it's so circumstantial because it's the group of people that you're with, and that changes.
It is,
for each case.
but if you can do it enough times, then you kind of can set a pattern of what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Right? And my friends who are defense attorneys said, not a chance. We don't want you instructing people what we did or didn't do, right or wrong.
I don't blame them.
You're like, this
That's
is
not
research.
nice.
Come on.
Yeah, just once.
Right.
You're trying to make the system better, but they don't care about that.
Mistrial.
Yeah.
But you guys don't care about vasectomies at birth either. So, I mean, what does anything matter?
God.
What do you guys think about verdicts? Do you think they should be 100% unanimous, or do you think a majority? What do you think?
I think unanimous.
Unanimous is tough.
Nah.
Unanimous is tough, and that's the standard right now. You have to have, for misdemeanors, all 6 jurors believe, and in felony cases, all 12. Think of 12 of your family members or 12 of your friends
on one thing.
all agreeing on the same exact thing.
Difficult.
Right.
Very difficult. Unless the person's just absolutely atrocious.
Yeah, but even if they're atrocious, every once in a while you get someone who says, well, maybe they should get some services and they'd be better.
Yeah, that's true. Or they're super charismatic like OJ.
Yeah.
How often is a jury hung? Is that pretty often?
It can happen. I don't have a statistic on that, but it happens more, I would say, more in recent years than it had in the past, because I think you get people holding out that they think there's corruption, that police are corrupt, that there is a conspiracy behind every door, every piece of evidence. And I'm not saying there aren't some, but it's not as much as people think. And so you can get 1 out of 12 who say, I'm not going to find him guilty. The other 11 are like, absolutely, this is what it is. Here you go.
It's pretty amazing you only need to get one.
Yeah. You only need one if you cannot have a unanimous verdict. And so what will happen is the jury comes out, they give the note to the judge, and it says, we cannot reach a verdict. The judge actually has to read an instruction to them. It's called the deadlock jury instruction. Has to read it. Jury, this is your opportunity and duty. Please go back. And while we don't want any of you to give up your own individualized belief, we need you to try to reach a consensus. Go back and do it again.
Okay, so you're saying it's difficult because we need unanimous decisions in the United States. Why do we have such a disproportionately high incarceration rate compared to the majority of the world?
Well, I don't know where you're getting your stats from, so that can be tricky. Because quite honestly, there's a lot of cases people think everybody always goes to jail on, and they don't. They don't.
Yeah, but we have a ton of people incarcerated, right?
Yeah.
I thought the populations in prisons in Michigan were going down.
Do we have a lot of for-profit prisons in Michigan?
No,
None?
I don't think so.
Is that it's not legal here or something?
I don't think there's any prisons in Michigan. I mean, they're all run by the Michigan Department of Corrections, and it's definitely not profit. They talk about losses all the time.
Yeah.
Countries with the largest number of prisoners per 100,000 of national population as of February 2025. We're in the top 5.
Okay, who are the other 4?
El Salvador is number 1 by far.
Do you think their rights are protected very well, or do you think they just imprison everybody?
You tell me. 1,659 per 100,000. Cuba, 794 per 100,000. Rwanda, 620 per 100,000. Turkmenistan, 576 per 100,000. United States, 541 per 100,000. So still top 5 in the world. And the rest of the countries on here, you would never put them in the same category as the United States. These are mostly, these are pretty much all third world countries in the top 10, except for Turkey.
There are times when I hear the more industrialized a nation is, the more likely they may have crime. There may be something like that going on. There are also people coming from other countries that commit crimes. We have a lot of drug traffickers that come in and bring drugs from other areas.
But most of the people who cross the border with it are actually U.S. citizens.
Yeah, a lot of times they are, but they're working for someone else who doesn't.
Right.
So there's that too. We may have laws, others don't. So, for example, in some of those third world countries you talked about, if a female is sexually assaulted, she might be stoned in her country because it's her fault. She might have shown ankle or something else in some of those areas, or they think she was unpure. Whereas in the United States, we actually would prosecute someone for sexually assaulting someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So the United States is 5% of the global, almost 5% of the global population, has more than 20% of the world's prison population. Other statistics, despite the fact that blacks and whites use drugs at roughly the same rates, black people are 10 times more likely to be incarcerated because of that. The United States spends over $80 billion a year on incarceration.
You know, I can tell you as a prosecutor, on cases where it's a first offense, on cases where it's controlled substance use, I want to utilize any programs that are out there to rehabilitate. So there are programs for first-time offenders where you complete probation, for example, on a possession of meth case, and you can get 18 to 24 months probation, do services, whatever it may be. At the end of that, if you complete it, the conviction against you goes away, so you don't have that 10-year felony following you around. They have that same thing for theft crimes, for young adults on different types of crimes, for domestic violence. There's a diversion program in Michigan. So I am very much an advocate for all of those. However, when you get to some of the worst crimes, people who sexually abuse children, who traffic them, who do child pornography, I don't see a whole lot of rehabilitation opportunities there.
That's why John says the death penalty.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. That's who prison's for in my mind.
Yeah.
Like the other crimes, like depending on what it is, for the most part, it's like.
But again,
is prison really
the sentencing guidelines are hard to get somebody to actually be sentenced to prison. It really is.
But why do we have so many people in prison then?
But that's a national average, right? That's not a Michigan one.
Yeah, I mean, it's a national average, but Michigan has some major prisons.
I'm telling you, I do sentencings every Monday on felonies and misdemeanors, and we may have 15 sentences. Maybe 8 to 10 of them don't go to jail. They don't go to prison. Maybe they get a short stint. Maybe I also recommend community service if it's something small. Give back to your community. Do 100 hours of community service instead of going to jail, right? That's a good thing for everybody. But there are the few that really, there is no other option. You have to send them to prison. You have to protect society and everybody else.
No, there are absolutely people like that.
Even for like, is it called white collar crime, like fraud, embezzlement, like that kind of stuff? Like, I feel like there has to be, I'm not saying death penalty, but like you gotta put those people away or punish them somehow, or else people are just gonna keep doing it. Like, you know? Kind of like you were talking earlier, like deter people.
I want to focus on prison being for people who, like, you mess with kids, like you traffic people, you murder people, not in self-defense.
What about a drunk driver who has 10 prior drunk drivings, didn't get the rehab, didn't click, still drinking, still driving, and now they hit somebody and killed them?
Oh, for sure.
Prison,
yeah,
right?
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's crazy.
But it happens.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have a license. You shouldn't be driving like 10 times.
Well, they're not waiting for a license, John. They're driving anyway.
Well, whatever. I mean, if they're, two times.
Should be. 2
times. Like, even giving someone one is like.
Drunk driving, third offense in Michigan is a 5-year felony, and it can be 3 priors within your lifetime.
Yeah, it's crazy. But the amount of people who drink and drive, insane. The Karen Reed case, they were all like, yeah, we're all wasted and we're all driving.
And in a blizzard.
And in a blizzard.
Yeah,
and they're all like, they're like, we do this all the time. But people do it all the time. Every state, all over everywhere.
You know what else they do? They drive under the influence of drugs. That happens a lot too, and they're impaired a lot of the time.
It's honestly amazing that I think about this all the time when I'm driving. It's amazing that there aren't more car accidents, and the amount of damage that could be done with cars. It's pretty incredible.
Scary.
I know what happens. I know there are people who die and all of that, but you would think it would happen even more with the amount of people who are drunk or on drugs or just mentally disturbed in driving.
Or you just don't hear about it maybe as much.
I don't know.
Well,
I feel like it does happen.
I think this is another example where the legislature needs to wake up, because if you commit a civil infraction, you're speeding, but you're speeding really bad. Okay, you're speeding through a neighborhood.
What's really bad too?
I'm like, you're doing 90 and a 25.
Okay, that's crazy.
Okay, but it happens.
What about on the freeway? What's bad to you?
It depends on where you are.
I'm asking for a friend.
But here's the thing. If you are doing it that bad, you're very reckless.
Yeah.
And if you kill somebody as a result of that, unless I can prove reckless or that you were impaired or drunk or high on something, it is a 1-year misdemeanor called moving violation causing death.
90 and a 25?
One
It
year?
could be if you run a stop sign and kill somebody.
And you killed somebody?
It's a 1 year.
90 and a 25 and kill
Unless
someone?
I can prove it's reckless. That was just an example.
Okay, but 90 and a 25 is reckless.
What about
Still
you
killing someone.
running a
That's
red light and you kill somebody?
Red light, that's a bad one too.
That's a 1-year misdemeanor.
1 year?
Red light, run a red
Yes.
light. You,
And it doesn't even mean-
someone ran a red light and hit you before.
Yeah.
And
bad.
it doesn't even mean you're going to get that 1 year. Most of the time, people convicted of that do not get jail. And that is so hard as a prosecutor to explain to the family of someone who lost their loved one because they were killed by someone's behavior. And I'm sorry, there's not going to be jail. Well, we want jail. I want jail too, but I'm just letting you know it's probably not going to happen. Wow. And it's very, very sad.
That is very sad.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
So on the freeway, what's reckless? What's a reckless speed to you? No, I'm genuinely curious.
Well, let me turn it around. I'm going to cross-examine you.
Great.
If the
Thanks.
speed limit is 70, what do you think is an appropriate amount to go over
In the state of Michigan?
in the state of Michigan?
I think 85 should be like the minimum.
Why?
15 over.
Why?
Said why?
Why? Because that's the average speed of traffic in Michigan. If you're in the left
So
lane,
does the
it's
sign
about
on the side of
85.
the road say go with the speed of traffic? No, it says 70.
Yeah, I know, but
Do rules mean nothing to you, Jonathan?
oh, stop it! You don't talk to me about this.
I'm not
Is
as
that
bad
what the
as
sign
you.
says on the side of the road? Go with the speed of traffic? No, it doesn't.
Honestly, I think the person going 85 but still like getting over when they pass someone and getting back into the right lane, way less dangerous than the jackass going 7. It's Michigan, bro. Get over. Get in the right lane. You are in the left lane going 70. You are an issue. You are the problem.
No, not exactly.
You 100. You are.
You 85ers are the problem because you are being reckless and you're going to weave in and out and you're going to get mad because the person won't move over and you're going to try to move to the right lane and pass them on the right when you can't because the person doing 70 can't go any faster because there's a car in front of them.
No, that's different than
That happened on our way
that's
here today.
way different.
It is not way different.
No, but you're not.
You're not listening
you
to
didn't
me.
even hear what I was
You're
gonna
not listening
say.
to me.
You guys.
You're saying
not listening.
You're talking about a completely
talking
different.
over me.
You're talking about a
Just
completely
stop.
different
Just stop.
circumstance.
I'm giving you examples.
But you're talking about a completely different circumstance than what I'm talking about.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the lone individual in the left lane driving next to the semi, and they're both going freaking 70. And it's just you are the issue. You are causing a traffic jam. Just get into the right lane.
No, you need to be more patient and go a little slower.
No.
I think that was a thing. Isn't that a
Get-
thing in
it's
Michigan?
illegal,
A law
yes.
now in Michigan?
You have to move
though?
over.
Yes,
Yeah.
get over.
And there's signs that say that too, which is what you
There
follow.
are no signs that say that.
Yes, there are.
Yeah.
Where that say get over?
Yeah.
Slower moving vehicles move to the right.
Oh, we need more. We need way more.
No.
Do you
You
want
know
to
what
just
we
put
need?
one on your car that says slow
Yes.
moving vehicles move out of John's way because he
Yes.
wants to do 85 and be reckless?
No reckless. No accidents.
You know what we need to save
no-
accidents are wildlife overpasses over the highway.
Too expensive, man. I love what they do in Alberta. It's great.
To save lives, you think that's too expensive? To save the animals and all the people that...
People don't care about lives in this state.
All right. Anyways.
It would be so
we were
expensive.
way off track.
The fencing that you have to put up, it's awesome. Have you ever been to Alberta?
No.
They have fencing, wildlife fencing, just massive fences to keep like bears and elk and whatever else is up there off the freeways. And then they have these like big
like a bridge,
overpasses.
yeah.
It's like a bridge, but it's like grassy and or trees and stuff.
So is
sometimes.
Smokey the Bear standing there telling them to cross over here?
It works.
They figure it out.
Besides wolves take about 10 years to trust it.
Yeah, well.
Yeah,
they're kinda
they said
weary.
that because I was asking, I was like, there really is like almost no
We saw no roadkill.
no roadkill, no dead deer, no anything. And they're like, yeah, because roadkill up here, if you hit an elk or you hit a
You're going to
grizzly,
take it home.
you're going to die. No, your home is heaven or hell. Like, you're going to die if you hit an elk or a grizzly. So they're like, it's awesome, but I can't imagine how expensive that was
Yeah.
for them to do. It's beautiful, too. Super expensive.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was this episode about? CSI Miami?
So if we're going back to you speeding too much.
No, not at all. 85 is like the norm in Michigan. It's really like,
John, you are outing yourself right now.
dude.
There's a prosecutor right here.
I go, yes, I drive 80 to around 80 to 85. 85 is like the high. 85 is the high. probably like around 80.
As,
10 over
as your
is not
friend
crazy.
who's an attorney,
Yeah.
let me just give you a little piece of advice. Don't admit that where people can hear you and it's recorded. Hello?
I don't care.
Do I not teach you anything?
No.
Come on.
Dude, I'm the guy who edits this show. I can cut it out if I really want to. I don't care enough to cut it out, though.
Okay, so going back to the original premise of this episode, talking about different types of cases and TV shows, I think, too, that the media that just covers ad nauseum the cases that are out there right now, the big popular ones, can make it difficult, too, because everybody thinks cases last 6-8 weeks long, that everybody has experts, that there are so many witnesses on both sides. And sometimes there's not. Sometimes all you have is a couple witnesses, law enforcement, and that's it.
And experts that contradict each other constantly.
Right.
Not like,
But you don't have that all the time because sometimes prosecutors' offices can't afford the experts. Sometimes defense attorneys don't have the money for experts. And that can create problems.
crazy that these experts need to be paid to come in, right?
They all do. They all
Isn't
get
that
paid.
strange?
Yeah, I agree.
Shouldn't they just, I don't know, maybe the government should just give these experts like, okay, you have to do up to 30 cases a year, and we're going to give you $115,000 to do that.
Well, it depends on what kind of case it is. And, you know, I'm sure the experts in the OJ case, for example, got a shit ton of money.
The dream team was flush.
They had a lot of money, and so did OJ.
Yeah.
So
He's so damn charismatic. It's difficult to convict that
you
guy.
just like to keep saying that, don't you? I think that's a thing for you.
Just because you were so against him being charismatic at first.
Because I just hated him.
I know. It was just funny. It was just funny. Because you were like, Scott Peterson. Oh, and I was just like.
I didn't say that about Scott. I said that's what everybody said about Scott.
Oh,
I think Scott's a murderous asshole, but that's another story.
I think they both were.
Oh, OJ, absolutely.
I think they both were. Also, wait, real quick, to go back to the speeding thing real quick before we wrap up the episode. The other thing that you taught me is that just because somebody admits to something doesn't mean that they can actually be convicted, because you need
The corpus of the crime. And I'm glad that you listened to that, but you know what the corpus in your speeding case would be? That cop sitting in the median with a radar.
Yeah, but they're there anyway. And
Yeah,
like,
but you're going to flag yourself. You're going to put a big giant neon sign on your car that says, pick me, choose me. I'm the person you need to stop because I'm driving like a maniac.
not a maniac. It's really within the flow of traffic. I mean, come on.
Again, does the sign on the side of the road say go with the flow of traffic? No, it says 70.
Yeah, I think I only have one speeding ticket in however many years I've been driving. 17.
And now you've just put a target on yourself for all law enforcement in the area to go, hey, I'm going to pull over John.
Yeah, that's fine. They can if they want.
Do you have any idea how many points go on your license if you're speeding?
You got to get caught speeding.
Oh my God.
Christina, I'm so sorry for you.
Thank you guys for listening to today's episode.
That's not how we finish this.
Okay, go ahead.
If you have any questions, or if you would like to point out how your favorite crime show has misled you in all of your misconceptions about how the law actually works, send us a message. Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Where else are we?
A lot of places. Just look us up.
A lot of places. BTV_pod.
Let us know what you think, and if there are other things you think that shouldn't be the focus of criminal cases, or maybe that should, let us know that too.
You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.